Hello there, to me and Ben reacting to brand new Star Wars What If. This one is called What If Order 66 worked or malfunctioned or half of the clones. This is actually part 2 of the 2 parts. Since this is a long What If, it's 33 minutes long. I hope you watched part 1 before this one. If you didn't, link to part 1 in the description. Hey, this was made by Pente Patrol Star Wars. Subscribe to him. Link to his channel down below in the description of the video, and link to the original video that we will be reacting to today in the description. And hey, without further ado, let's get right into reacting.
Joy at the birth of their twins, but filled to the brim with bloodlust. On the more pleasant side of things, the new parents got to use the names they chose. Because they didn't want to know what kind of kid they were going to have, they came up with names for a boy and a girl. Padme chose Luke for the boy, and Anakin agreed with it. He chose Leia for the girl, and she agreed with that. Now they could use both their selected names for their twins. It was all sorts of pleasant, but there was still a business to attend to. Anakin and Ahsoka would leave at some point, due to a request from Plo, who was the quickest to return from Coruscant due to being on Cato Nemodia. The Council was eager to know anything Anakin might know. Due to the files being in the hands of the Senate, the Jedi didn't need to look into them. Plo was curious to know if
these motherfuckers still don't know that he, he turned to the dark side, and did bad stuff. Wow.
Skywalker might know wherever Sidious may have gone, but he didn't. Of course, then a thought crossed his mind. He informed them that it was possible Sidious went to Mustafar. Plo quickly informed Syndralic to rally any and all council members on Mustafar, but when the Jedi eventually arrived, it was too late. Everyone was slaughtered, and from what they could tell, the controls were slashed, so no one could shut down the droid armies. However, as was apparent, the droid armies had more forces than the Jedi originally believed they had. The Council sent the readings back to Coruscant, which would make its way into the Senate. The Republic had to prepare itself for a second Clone War.
Right.
This time they'd be fighting against their known enemy, and they wouldn't have to deal with another Order 66. Yoda, on the other hand, felt great shame about the entire thing. He should have followed the vision to the work so that he and Anakin could have stopped Sidious and Dooku together, but his foolishness cost them thousands of Jedi and clones. At least the Jedi Temple and the Order itself still stood. That was the only silver lining out of all of this. The Jedi still had a fighting chance against the forces of evil. What followed would be months of galactic war. However, just because Sidious had reinforcements didn't mean he automatically made a push back into the mid-rim. His forces were stagnant, and they were stuck in the outer rim. The clones were fighting with vengeance. The Jedi were moving harder than ever before, and the Republic had a huge pool of recruitments. As it turns out, Sidious planned on instituting a TK Trooper program, and instead of letting all the armor and weaponry go to waste, the new Chancellor, a Corran man named Christo, opened up recruiting. Because Palpatine...
I'm sorry, who the fuck is that? Why is this random dude a Chancellor now? What? How okay.
Could have been no.
betray the Republic, people were eager to...
Should have been Bale.
Yeah, or like Mon Mothma or some shit like that. Not some random fucking fish guy. Like, who the hell is that guy?
...serve alongside the clone troopers and take the fight to the Sith. This went alongside the projects hidden within the Republic shipyards. Sidious had heinous plans, and because of them, the Republic decided, why let them go to waste? There were now more troopers, new vessels, new troopers, and new vehicles ready for the war on the Outer Rim. Due to the alliance between Sidious and Maul, the Sith were able to use Maul's contacts to combat the rise of the Republic military, and so, the fight very quickly became the Outer Rim versus the Galaxy. The former Separatists saw that Sidious and Dooku were allies and betrayed every ideal Dooku instilled into their government. They rallied with Chancellor Christo and took the fight to the Sith. Due to the fact that there was no name for this new faction, the word Sith began to circulate around. The public was informed what the Sith were, and why they needed to be destroyed, and so aside from the various corporations that Sidious took control over, the entire galaxy stood together to fight the Outer Rim. This didn't mean the Sith forces were outmatched either. They had the full power of the Separatist military at their hands. Alongside that, they rallied together crime syndicates. This led to a total stall in the outer edge of the galaxy. The end of the Clone Wars was set up to have a Republic victory, which meant that huge Separatist holdouts in the mid-rim crumbled. Cato Nemodia, the siege that started before Ahsoka's trial, was the only Separatist fortress in the core. Without any support from anywhere else, the Republic very quickly and simply cut off the Outer Rim. There were locations within the Outer Rim that were defended. For instance, Plo Koon and the Wolfpack went down the Ryloth to serve with Cham Syndulla and Captain Hauser. The Jedi did a great job of taking care of their frontline bases, and it pinned the Sith into a circle. It was just a matter of time until they broke. Because despite the Sith forces maintaining control over foundry and shipyard systems, no amount of forces could keep the entire galaxy away from them. As for Anakin Skywalker, he felt a great burden. The death of Mace Windu and a couple thousand Jedi and clones were on his hands. If he allowed Sidious to be killed by the Master of the Order, all of this could have been prevented. Of course, the Republic could have vilified the Jedi, but he didn't know. All he knew is he was responsible for cutting off Mace's arm, and everything that led to these events. The burden ate away at him like a virus, and he tried to tell someone. He just didn't have the heart to. Not Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Padme, or Rex, even though Padme did know. He couldn't get it off of his chest, and so it sat there idling, just like him, waiting on the front lines for the outcome to find its conclusion. He did see combat, but not like when the war was raging with the Separatists. Each strike made by the Sith was intentional, and the Republic strategists knew that, so they built plans to trap the Sith, and they worked. Every time the Sith made a misstep or an assault, they'd get boxed in and destroyed. What bugged Anakin the most is that he was a galaxy away from his family. Padme was obviously alright because she had friends, and C-3PO was a perfect nanny, but he just wished he could be there supporting her. She knew he was doing all he could do, and she understood their predicament. Neither of them held any resentment for the other, only love and care. Skywalker waited eagerly for the war to come crashing down, and when it didn't, he realized he needed to confess his crimes to someone. Because Sidious was out here, Yoda and Ahsoka joined up with Skywalker's fleet. They were moving together for a number of reasons, but the most important was because Yoda knew that Sidious would come for Skywalker again. This created more pressure for Anakin. He trained harder than ever before, practicing his technique and preparing for his final showdown with Sidious. He knew it would come, and he had to be ready. Due to the stress radiating off of Skywalker, he and Master Yoda would have a discussion, one of which he would finally reveal the truth to Yoda. It was difficult for him, and he actually burst into tears over it. This had everything to do with it building up for month after month after month. He locked it all in his chest, and he needed to release the tension. It was tearing him apart. Yoda was similar to how he was on Coruscant before these events. He was understanding, and he was treating Anakin with respect. He saw the actions as wrong, and without the context of Padme, they were very hard to understand, but he truthfully admired Anakin's resistance. The full story wasn't told to Yoda, so from what he understood, Anakin left the office, went to the clones, changed his mind, and came back to fight Sidious, which to Anakin basically happened. It was a stretched version of the truth, but regardless of that, Yoda believed that for Skywalker to resist Palpatine after years worth of grooming, he should be proud of himself. The loss of Windu was a tragic one. He was truthfully one of the best the Order had, but the loss of those thousands were horrific. However, Yoda was still trying to see the light in this, and so he reminded Anakin how many lives he saved by going back. By fighting the Emperor and giving Sindralic time to arrive, he helped secure a future for the galaxy. Who knows what would have happened if Sidious gained control over the Senate. Anakin and Yoda grew tighter as a result of this, and the Grand Master, in a way, took Skywalker under his wing. Yoda always wanted the best for Anakin, so he trained the Chosen One on how to defend himself from someone like Sidious in case they weren't together when a fight ensued. This continued for more months. The Sith were elusive, and their military continued holding off its territory. Both the Republic and Sith forces continued to grow, but the Sith couldn't compete with the entirety of the United Republic front. Finally, a seam bursted, and the Republic broke in. The Sith were struggling. No one had joined the Sith. All the Jedi were united with each other, just as the clones were, especially without their inhibitor chips thanks to the Senate. In a key battle over Geonosis, the third battle over the system, the Republic bounced in with a huge military, and with their fleet came Yoda, Anakin, and Ahsoka. It was a quick strike, and the three Jedi found a Sith flagship. It was their confirmed target, and similar to Yoda's vision, Skywalker would accompany him to the vessel. In the heat of combat, wings of LA-ATs fled the Resolute and landed on the flagship. Sidious, Maul, and Grand Inquisitor were present. Their challengers were Anakin, Yoda, and Ahsoka. Rex and Jesse fanned out across the ship, taking down battle droids and making a push for the bridge. As they were doing that, the three Jedi came across the three Sith in the tower on the ship. Sidious didn't want them aboard, but now they were. He wanted them trapped. And so, before the engagement could begin, the Sith flagship jumped into hyperspace. Without the flagship, Admiral Yularen and his forces would obliterate the resistance and win yet again over Geonosis and then on the ground. In hyperspace, a great duel would begin. Skywalker was locked on the Sidious, but Yoda reminded him of his place and pushed him into a fight against Maul. Due to having three opponents, the tower of the vessel erupted into chaos. Ahsoka moved out and struck up a duel with Grand Inquisitor. On Anakin's left, Yoda and Sidious toiled back and forth, and in the middle of the fight, Maul and Skywalker had a bone to pick. Maul hated Anakin and wanted him dead. He was the original key to everything. Now Maul would become the key to everything. Their blades slammed together. Anakin had plenty of reason for wanting to gut Maul, namely the death of Qui-Gon. The room lit with fury. The balance of everything was held in this moment. Sidious soon realized that the lack of space for him created a disadvantage when fighting against the likes of Yoda. He had a better chance against Yoda than Windu, simply because
Yeah, because Yoda's a small fucking cabbage boy. By the way, this duel in like the movies would be insane. Like imagine those 6 people in it one duel. It'd be insane.
of a pod was such an unstoppable gift for that Jedi Master, one that Yoda simply just didn't have. Ahsoka and Grand Inquisitor were certainly a unique match, but Ahsoka was Anakin's student. Her unpredictability would throw Grand Inquisitor off just enough. Without anyone showing a sign of slowing down, Skywalker took a risk. He and Yoda used each other to propel themselves at the other's opponents. It was a sick and twisted move, essentially using the Force to launch the other at Maul or Sidious. The tactic blindsided the Sith. Maul was thrown backwards, due to the superior skill of Yoda, but Skywalker had to go defensive. Thanks to Yoda's training over the last several months, he was able to adequately defend himself from the likes of Sidious. Due to the mass confusion, Grand Inquisitor lost focus. He saw Maul tumble across the room, and immediately thought he'd be blindsided by Skywalker, but he wasn't. This allowed Ahsoka to cut through his staff before kicking him in the jaw. She was then confronted by Maul, who came to assist the fallen Jedi. Yoda had turned his attention to Sidious to help out. Because of Maul's counter, Ahsoka lost her Shoto in a move. But in a quick strike, she blasted a control panel which sent flares of electricity into Maul's face. She jabbed forward and cut through his adamant and he fell down, just as Grand Inquisitor struck forward. Ahsoka's blade was cut from her hands and she fell back. He then threw his blade at her head, and with all of her strength, she gripped his hand and began fighting for control over his lightsaber itself. On the other side of the room, Skywalker was kicked in the head, and Yoda jumped in front of what would have been a lethal strike from Sidious. The Grand Master used the Force to push Sidious back as Anakin gathered to his feet. Yoda and him looked to each other, and a small nod came, and they moved in. Ahsoka was able to steal Grand Inquisitor's weapon, only for him to use the Force on her. Ahsoka's boots slid across the floor, and she looked up, watching Grand Inquisitor kick an injured Maul in the jaw before stealing his lightsaber and cutting down the
Bro just betrayed Maul and took his lightsaber. Wow.
Zabrak warrior. Ahsoka used a red lightsaber to continue her fight, as she struck at Grand Inquisitor. They picked up right where they left off, a toil between light and dark, but Ahsoka was able to seize an advantage, using the wall as an ally, jumping off of it and shoving Grand Inquisitor through a piece of equipment. In the move, she was able to decapitate him. At the same time, across the room, Sidious and Yoda moved like light, and Skywalker was keeping pace, doing everything he could to kill the Dark Lord. He didn't present any easy strikes though. Sidious threw his hands behind his head to block a strike made by Skywalker, which pushed him off balance, before kicking Yoda to the side. He could see Ahsoka charging him with her blue lightsabers in hand again. He thought this was a perfect opportunity to kill Ahsoka before singling out the other 2 Jedi. Lightning sped across the room, and just as Ahsoka saw it, she ducked under it. From the other side of the room, Yoda used all of his strength to keep Sidious locked in place for just long enough. Ahsoka slid under the lightning and her blades came out on the other side of Sidious's torso. When she looked up, she saw Anakin grinning, and with a smirk, she told him that she had 2 kills. Anakin laughed, but Yoda didn't really find the humor in it. In the hallways below the tower, Rex and Jesse pushed through the droid forces with their clones behind them. It was a mix of 501st troopers, some of them wearing Ahsoka's armor, others donning their blue gear. But they were able to find the command bridge and secure it by the time the duel was over with the Jedi and Sith. While there may have been a complete and total extinction of the Sith, their movement didn't die. Sidious, Maul, and Grand Inquisitor were just figureheads to the movement. The crime lords wanted absolute power, and so they continued the fight with the Separatist machinery. The victory over Geonosis would be a decisive turning point in the war, but the Second Clone War, or War with the Sith, or the Crime Syndicate War, whatever people were calling it these days, didn't come to an end until a year and a half after Geonosis, which was almost 3 years after the execution of Order 66. The victory would be shared galaxy-wide. Many of the people in the Outer Rim used the war with the Republic as a way to start a slave rebellion or uprising. These would obviously be shut down, but it was enough of a distraction to get the public to claim victory over the forces of evil. Due to the duel in the Sith flagship and the countless other missions in the Outer Rim, Yoda made a point to forgive the actions Anakin made during one of the most desperate hours of his life. Anakin would be permitted to remain a Jedi Master on the High Council if he wished. He would accept. Due to Ahsoka's exceptional skill during the war, she too would be given the role of Master. This was one of those rare circumstances, but it was very similar to how Plo
Whoa. Okay, hold up. She's 17 in Revenge of the Sith. And she said that this, second war lasted 3 years. So she's fucking 20 and a master.
She hasn't. No, that's ridiculous.
If he said they made her a knight, that's cool. Yeah. She can be a knight, but master, she just doesn't know enough. she hasn't learned enough. Yeah, sure, she's skilled as hell, but like,
Hasn't trained anyone.
yeah, that too, and yeah, yeah, no, master is too much, but knight, that's cool. Yeah, she can be a knight, but not a master. That's too soon. Not experienced enough and all that. So,
achieved his rank of master. The end of the war brought a great joy to the galaxy, but none greater than the one Anakin had when he saw the twins for the first time since their birth. He of course could see them over hologram, but nothing compared to the real thing. Due to the extremities of the war, veterans that spent the entire duration in the Outer Rim, like Skywalker, were given a leave of absence from the Council and other Jedi duties if they so wished. Anakin took this, and he was able to have 3 whole months with his family on Naboo. His family did include Ahsoka, Rex, and Obi-Wan, all of which having been informed at separate points during the war of his family. Because of their valor, the clones would be given pensions and protection from the Republic, as well as a Republic paid-for bill that commissioned the Kaminoans to reduce their accelerated aging. The bills would be a true and honorable way for the Republic to respect their soldiers. The citizens who joined up as TK troopers would also receive their medals and honors. When Anakin returned to the Jedi after 3 months with his children, he knew what he would do. Skywalker committed himself to be the best Jedi the Council ever had. Not for the sake of being the best, but because the Jedi could finally be something more than political allies. They meant something to the people in the Outer Rim. Their work to free those people became a rallying cry for the people of the Republic to go in and rebuild it. They would finally be given the care they needed, and the Republic would make sure they were given representation and treated fairly. The Outer Rim had a long way to go, but because the people were so well accepted by the Republic and the Jedi, it was easy for them to find themselves home within the Galactic Republic itself. As for Skywalker, he'd be the one who led the Jedi back into the Outer Rim, and to be the bringers of peace the galaxy needed. While Luke and Leia would never officially become Jedi, they were their parents' children, both of them becoming some of the best politicians the galaxy ever saw. This was because of the gifts of their parents bestowed upon them, their mother's prowess in the political arena, as well as the force of which their father taught them all about. Without the Sith and the crime families, the Outer Rim was finally given a chance to heal. The Jedi were the architects of the next 200 years of change in the galaxy, and their work would inspire not just citizens, but outlaws, criminals, and pirates to become better iterations of themselves. Those lost during Order 66 would be remembered as the heroes that started a chain reaction, one that brought the galaxy to a place of peace and harmony not seen in generations. And that, my friends, is our story. Again, special thanks.
Okay, what do we think? What do we think about this what if?
I think there's only really 2 things that irritated me a little bit, and
First,
that was,
I'm just gonna first of all mention the fact that Ahsoka became a master, but that's not that's not that big of a detail, but still.
No, I didn't drop it 1 for that.
Yeah, but you know, not the biggest like bad thing you could do, I guess.
On the whole, it was alright. It was an interesting twist, but I think the whole easy flip for Anakin when he started down a dark path just it seemed a bit too simple.
Yeah, I guess. Also like that. He continued the story, like a long time. You know, another 3-year war and all that. He didn't just end it, like in Revenge of the Sith. So he could have just killed off Sidious then and there in the temple, for example, but he didn't. So that made it a whole lot more interesting, I guess.
True, but it always carries a risk when you drag something out.
Yeah, but I think it worked out. Definitely think it worked out. It was a good story. So,
I'll say 8.5.
8.5. Yeah. Well, let's do 8.5. That's really good.
Alright, so now we finished the whole what if, as this was part 2, and that was a pretty good what if, pretty awesome, and I hope you enjoyed as well. And if you did, hey, check out Pente Patrol. He makes awesome what ifs. Show him love. Link to his channel and link to the original video down below in the description of this video. And hey, also, subscribe to me. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, or rather before the end of 2024. Like the video, helps out a lot. Share the video to everybody you know. Your dog, your grandma, your friends, your dad, your mom, your stepmom, your stepsister, your brother, your cat, whoever, your teacher. Hey, do it. Thank you so much for watching. I never can ever say that line. And hey, this is Dwight, and the Force be with you. Planner, I'll see you next time. Hey, you didn't watch it? Well, check out the video on the left side of the screen, which is specifically recommended for you, or check out the playlist on the right of the screen, which contains similar videos to this one, made by me, of course. Hey, remember, subscribe.